Okay, let's do it. Alright, for this project I'm going to use walnut, citrus, beech, and I think I know wood. If somebody has an answer, please write me in the comments. I really want to know. Every time I'm about to do something Pokemon related, I'm really excited, and I hope you too. So, let's turn a Scyther, at least the most of it. Also, it's gonna include sculpting and all that stuff. Enjoy. Alright, for those who are watching me doing a Pokemon for the first time, I have some standards. I wanted to have articulated joints, different types of wood, so they can emulate the different colors of the Pokemon, and of course to be a masterpiece. With that said, now I can tell you what I've been doing for the past 3 weeks, one by one. After I prepared and glue some pieces, with a piece of walnut, I started making the thorax of the Pokemon. On lathe, I gave it the basic shape and the small collar the Scyther has. Then with the sander, I sanded out the flat areas. And because I went again with the ball joint method, I drilled holes for the joint on the neck and the joint that connects the optimum. And with a diamond ball bit, I made the holes more spherical. Of course, the next thing that I went with was the 2 joints. I glued together walnut and beech, and I started carving teardrops and balls. The plan was to carve a teardrop shape connected to a sphere, half diameter smaller than one than the other, and make 2 of them. After I made sure that they were popping okay to the thorax, I went with the optimum. I finished the shape and the polish on lathe. It was the easiest part of the Pokemon. Really, the only thing that gave me hard time was the 2 lines that the design has, and I chose that because I could do them on lathe and be done with them. But because there is a small curve in the front side of the design, I decided to make them with the Dremel and refine them with a file and sandpaper. Then, with the same way as before, with the driller and Dremel, I made the socket and added 2 extra holes for the upcoming joints of the legs. After a small break, I started by sculpting the details on the thorax with different methods. Basically, I made a jacket for Scyther. Anyway, I removed more material from the areas of the socket to give the illusion that the joints are somehow the inner part of the Pokemon. And I think I achieved that. Balls. Then I went with balls again to make the shoulders. I made the shape on the lathe. After that, I drilled 2 holes in the center of the sphere, and with a hacksaw, I made a channel that connects them together. It's so to give movement to the shoulders to rotate in different directions, and added the socket that are gonna connect the sides later. With wooden dowel rod, I made the joints. I made hemispherical dents to the thorax for more pleasing fit with the shoulders, and with the same diameter drill bit as the dowel, I made the holes. And it was time for the sides. If the optimum was the easy part, this with the head as an exception was the most difficult one. I cut a piece of walnut almost all the way through, and I did that because with that way I could cut and shape the both sides simultaneously. After I cut the inner part that connects the bone with the blade, with a file I shaped them. Then I marked the shape on citrus and cut it. Separated the 2 pieces and glued the walnut with a piece of citrus together. When the glue dried, I started sanding them out and giving them the proper shape. After I was happy on how they look, with the same way as the shoulders, I made the holes for the joints. With the wooden dowel again, I made the joints and used some teak oil to darken them, to somehow match the color of the walnut. For the legs, on lathe I made half oval shape. Into the center of the piece I drilled 2/3 of the way through, and one smaller hole to the side to find the other one. Then I cut channel to connect the two holes. More cutting, more sanding, and Dremel for more spherical holes. You got the idea. With a thicker dowel rod, I made joints, which is a sphere connected to a rod, and insert them into the holes that I made earlier into the Oblivion, and made the sockets for the joints of the feet. With temperature 14 degrees and rectangular pieces, I started shaping the feet on lathe.
It's too hot.
Yeah, with that method I could get closer to the final shape. The sides were almost done. I just removed the back side and make the bend of the feet. Then I refined the pieces, added the details, drilled 3 holes to each of them for the claws, and made the sockets for the joints. For the claws, with a citrus rod that I prepared earlier, I made the one side smaller in diameter to match the diameter of the holes, and then cut the pieces and repeat the same process over 5 times. Shape them, and after a good pedicure, they were done. And of course again with the dowel, I made the joints. And voila! But later, I made sockets in the back side of the thorax for the wings. And the wings troubled me, because I didn't know how to make the ball joints on them, and I didn't like the idea of what I did to the previous Pokemon, in which there were separate pieces of joints that I glued to the wings. So what I did, I sacrificed a lot of citrus, because I made the joints first on lathe, tested them, made the shape of the wings, and sand out 90% of the wood in order to shape them. After that's done, with the same way as the sides, I did the upper wings, with the difference that I had better idea of attaching the pieces together by making a channel to the one piece so I can have room for errors. And it was easier to shape them. For the lower smaller wings, it was the same process in smaller scale and without the trouble of attaching them to any other piece. And now for the final part, the head. I was postponing this for later and later and later, but it was time. I consider myself as a mediocre sculptor, and I was afraid that I would mess it up. But after I've sculpted the thorax and the other pieces, I gained some confidence to slowly and carefully start removing material from a piece of walnut, until I found a rhythm and the uncertainty sank down somehow. For 3 hours I was there fully concentrated on the piece. I used every method I knew for the best possible result. Alright, yesterday I finished the head and it's looking okay. It's fine. And today I'm gonna add the fangs the same way as I did with the claws. Make the eyes. I don't know how I'm gonna make them yet, and they are tricky because if I do something wrong they're gonna look stupid. But I know what I'm gonna use. I'm gonna use citrus for the white part, and for the pupil I'm gonna use the wood that I think I know. I think it's cherry actually. Then I'm gonna add some details to the piece, polish it and wrap it up. So I made the fangs, and for the eyes, the cherry, I cut it out, took a piece and made a small cylinder on lathe. And with a file I made it more oval. Then I took a piece of citrus, made a hole, and with the Dremel I tried to match the shapes. Then I put the one piece into the other, cut off the excess, shaped the piece and cut 2 slices out of it. I made sockets to the head where the eye is supposed to be and glued them in place. And it was time to make it shine. With sandpaper I refined some pieces. With tissue I applied wax. Waited to absorb. And with a Dremel I polished everything. And at last, the moment that I was waiting for, to assemble my creation and see the final result. Yeah, the final result. Sometimes it's different here than the actual reality, and it's somehow disappointing. What do you think? I think I did just great. Well, that's the video. I hope you like it because it took me 3 weeks to finish it and I have to edit everything. And if you did, push the like button. If you want to subscribe because I think I'm gonna do more of these types of projects. Until next time, bye bye. Why not? Out.